Thank you for tuning in to part 2 of day 218 of Jimmer's Jiu-Jitsu journey. Today was Sunday, which was a recovery day for me. We don't do any classes on Sundays at Neanderthal, which means typically I'm either just relaxing with the family. Sometimes I'll try and make it to open mat, probably once a month. Stretch out, maybe go do some sprints if I haven't done a ton of classes recently, try and get my cardio up, maybe do a HIIT video, something like that, but generally don't push it too hard on Sundays. I did class the last 4 days, so today I woke up feeling just a little bit sore overall, not too bad. My right shoulder was bugging me a little bit. We did a lot of takedowns in class yesterday, so I think that's probably a reason for that. So today was really just a recovery day. I'm going to go over 3 things that I think have really helped me avoid soft tissue injuries. A little background about my athletic history, which isn't too much to speak of. Grew up playing conventional sports. Did a little bit of wrestling when I was young. A little bit of hockey. Football, basketball, soccer, baseball. Always dealt with soft tissue injuries. Pulled a calf a couple of years. Pulled a groin. Pulled a hip flexor. Pulled a back muscle. Pulled my left hamstring bad one year. I was 22, 23. Just always dealt with soft tissue injuries, shin splints, tendonitis in the elbows. Just very, very annoying nagging injuries that kind of keep me from being able to get to where I wanted to get to. Haven't dealt with that yet in jiu-jitsu, and I'm leaving that up to three things that I've been proactive about with recovery. Number 1 is stretching. I stretch for 15 minutes a day, once or twice a day, probably 90% of the 218 days that I've been doing jiu-jitsu. I think it's a huge part of my not having soft tissue injuries, not pulling a muscle, something like that, being able to go 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week since I started in September. So number 1 is stretching, and also there's certain moves in jiu-jitsu that you can't do unless you're fairly flexible. So it not only helps in not injuring yourself, but it opens up possibilities to just improve your jiu-jitsu game. Number 2, I think I've done a lot of hot and cold therapy. I've listened to a lot of people lately on Joe Rogan's podcast, things like that, talking about saunas. That's why we got ours yesterday. I did the sauna last night into the cold shower. I think that's going to be probably a nightly routine. Today, went over to my mom's house, my mom and dad's house, and did some yard work over there. It's already 85 and humid here in Texas, so got the muscles warmed up, got a little sweat in. My wife and the kids came over. We got in the cold pool, and then we're getting in the hot tub. So for 2 hours, kind of went back and forth between the cold water and the hot water. And I think that, again, that's something that I've listened to. I've heard a lot about lately, so I'm trying to incorporate that into my routine. So number 2 is hot and cold therapy as far as avoiding soft tissue injuries. And then number 3, I think, is just recovery. When I first started, 3 days a week, maybe 4, was a lot. I was doing it, but I was definitely hurting some days, especially as a smaller framed guy with previous injuries. So I try and just listen to my body. If I go 4 days, I don't generally go 5 days in a row. If I go 5, I almost never go 6. If I do, I make sure I'm stretched out very good. Maybe I take it down a notch intensity-wise. But those are the 3 things that I've noticed that I think have really helped me avoid soft tissue injuries, even joint injuries. Number 1, stretching. Number 2, hot and cold therapy. And then rest. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.